Kia ora, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Maori language. The Maori language, also known as Te Reo Maori or Te Reo, which literally means the language, is an official language of New Zealand or Aotearoa. It has an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 speakers. It is an Austronesian language written in the Latin script. It has one diacritic, and this is the macron, and this changes the meaning of the word. The Maori possess a rich and beautiful culture and history, and they are perhaps most known for the haka, which is the traditional dance. You can see this performed by the New Zealand national rugby team, the All Blacks. They're also famous for their tamoko, which are the traditional tattoos. So where did the Maori language come from? The Maori language is believed to have originated in eastern Polynesia and arrived in New Zealand or Aotearoa somewhere around AD 1280. The Maori spent several centuries in isolation, and so the language and dialect evolved with lots of regional variation. There was no written variety of language, but there was symbolic meaning in carving, weaving, and knots. When the European settlers first came to New Zealand, Te Reo Maori was used for communication and trade, which the settlers had to learn, and because of this, a written language emerged. It was systemised in 1820 by Professor Samuel Lee of Cambridge University, Chief Hongi Hika, and his junior relative Waikato. Because of this, many Pākehā, the Maori word for European New Zealanders, could speak Maori. However, by the 1860s, the Maori language was discouraged. Pākehā were now the majority, so Te Reo Maori was suppressed in schools in an attempt to assimilate the Maori. By 1920, English was encouraged even by Maori parents as it became more mainstream and more necessary, but the language still survived, though it was changed through many borrowed words and transliterations from English. During the Second World War, the urban areas offered much more opportunities for work, which resulted in mass migration to urban areas where the dominant language was English. This meant that the number of Te Reo Maori speakers began to decrease at a rapid rate, and by the 1980s, fewer than 20% of Maori could be considered native speakers. The language was in serious danger of becoming lost, so in the 1970s, many Maori began to reassert their identity. A Maori Language Day was introduced, which became Maori Language Week in 1975, Te Wiki o Te Reo Maori. New Zealand's first officially bilingual school opened in Ruatoki. Te Reo Oponeke, the first Maori-owned language radio station, went on air in 1983. In the education system, several recovery programs were implemented. For example, Kohanga Reo. The system of primary schooling in a Maori language environment is called Kawa Kaupapa. In 1985, the Waitangi Tribunal asserted that Te Reo Maori was a taonga or treasure and was protected under the Treaty of Waitangi. This was called the Te Reo Maori Claim. Under the Maori Language Act of 1987, Te Reo Maori was made an official language of New Zealand. Despite all of these efforts of revitalisation, the language is still endangered. To keep the language alive, there needs to be a good number of speakers of all ages. So now some basic words and phrases in the Maori language. Kia ora is hello. Tēnā is thank you. Koa is please. Tapu means sacred. Manakitanga, hospitality. Whānau is family. Iwi is a Maori tribe. Haka is a traditional war dance. Mana is pride and integrity. And hongi is a traditional Maori greeting. I would highly recommend listening to some native Maori speakers, as my pronunciation is probably very off. So some resources to learn the Maori language. Drops is a great way to learn vocabulary. It's very easy to use and it's free, but I wouldn't recommend using it to completely learn a language as it doesn't teach grammar. However, it's a great way to complement your learning. MaoriLanguage.net has practically everything you need to know about Te Reo Maori, with pronunciation guides, videos, songs, podcasts, and links to external resources. It's a great place to get started. I'm currently using this to learn some Maori. So for literature, I'd recommend going to Culture Trip, which has a great introduction to Maori literature. For example, Wairiki by Patricia Grace was the first story collection written by a Maori woman. It explores cultural values, spirituality, family dynamics, and human relationships. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment any endangered or Indigenous languages that you'd like us to cover next time. And thank you.